Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome. That, as they say, is that. Marvel Comics. Let's go ahead and get started.
Today is Tuesday, all you minties, and I am the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. That means it's time to check out all of these collected editions coming out from Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. What we're looking at here are the books being released on January 21st or 22nd, depending on where you get your books. And before I go any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of all of these trade paperbacks, and of course, a Marvel Masterwork, a Epic Collection, and a brand new Treasury edition. As always, I leave timestamps in the description of the video if you want to jump around, in case you don't want any kind of spoilers or just curious about one or two titles. But these are all the books coming out this week, and this week we're going to start with smashing that like button. That's right. Thank you so much to all the people that have already done that. Big thank you. Small thing you can do, but it means the world to us. But in all seriousness, well, no, that was serious. Let's go ahead and start with the Spider-Gwen Go Spider book this week. So here we have Spider-Gwen, The Ghost Spider, Volume 1, Haunted. So we are beginning a new ongoing series, and this time around it is written by Stephanie Phillips. You have Federica Mancin and Paolo Villanelli doing a majority of the art, with Eric Apstur, Matt Milla doing the colors, and then Ariana Mayer and Travis Lanham doing the lettering. And we kick it off with just a little bit of the material of Web of Spider-Man #1 that showcases Gwen. Again, this is a different Gwen from another Earth. This is Earth 65. Although I love the fact that it's Earth 65, maybe, because she does hang around the 616 universe. So whenever we're talking about numbers and things like that, that is something that has already been established in the Marvel universe, and of course now the MCU. But in the comics, yes, the 616 universe is the universe of the comic books that started in 1961, I guess, with Fantastic Four, if you want to go back that far, and Spider-Man 62. And then this Spider-Gwen is from another time, from Earth 65, but she does travel back and forth. This collects the first 5 issues of this ongoing series. It's 136 pages and retails for $17.99. Now, the pitch of this is that Spider-Gwen is now hanging out in the 616 universe. For some reason, she cannot go back to her universe. So it's really difficult. And the reason is explained through here, by the way. But it's difficult for her to live like that because her name is Gwen Stacy. She's trying to get a loan, and they don't have her social security number on file. So how can she prove she's Gwen Stacy from another Earth? Now, the catch is she's supposed to be here on Earth 616 without letting anyone know, without letting any of her friends know from Earth 65 that she is living here now, without letting any of her spider folks know, like Peter Parker or Cindy Moon or Miles Morales, know that she is now residing here, and she's not supposed to use her superpowers. Of course, she breaks that rule immediately when she sees a bank robbery taking place. She's a superhero after all. Now, part of the reason why she's not supposed to be here, I'm not going to go into detail exactly why, but it does have something to do with the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, and Ouroboros has been assigned to her, sort of like her, she calls it the multiverse caseworker or wrangler. He gives her exactly the rules to follow, and she must abide by those rules. Now, here on Earth 616, there are some changes coming around. Black Tarantula is back, but he's tired of wearing costumes. And what he does is he enlists a professional villain to go after these superheroes, these spider people. And is it really Kraven the Hunter, or could somebody else be this villain that goes after people? And then when the spider folk, her friends, find out that she's still here, what do they have to say about it? And what is the TVA, after giving her these rules, going to say about her breaking them? And there is an issue in here, let's actually look at it, where it's a fight between Spider-Gwen and Spider-Gwen, or I guess Ghost Spider versus Ghost Spider. So that's what's going on through here. Does it have anything to do with the ending of the world if she does show up in Earth 65 again? If she uses her powers in 616, what could it mean? That's what this new ongoing series establishes. I do love the fact that we have like this color set for Spider-Gwen collections. I assume the original comics do too. It almost reminds me of like a Trapper Keeper colors. All the way in the back, we do have some variant covers. Some of them in splash page and some of them in thumbnail size. That is a beautiful piece by Pablo Villalobos. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Greg Land. I don't know. That one stood out. Scotty Young. There's another piece by Pablo Villalobos. Annie Wu. And then this piece right here by Ryan Gonzalez. And other Spider-Gwen collections, mainly focusing on the modern era epic collections. Doctor Doom. Books of Doom. Oh my gosh! Every week, I give my seal of approval to only one book. And let me tell you, this week was hard. If I had two picks, it would definitely be this one. This would be my second pick. But my first pick went to something else. What could be better than this? Because this is amazing. Ed Brubaker, Pablo Raimondi, Mark Farmer, Andrew Hennessy, Robin Riggs, Brian Reber, and Russ Wooten. And these covers by Paolo Rivera. Oh my gosh. There's a brand new forward by Ed Brubaker that was written in November of 2024. That means this is like literally off the presses. It is coming out this week with a brand new introduction. By the way, this introduction is freaking awesome because he talks about the Fantastic Four and where he started loving the Fantastic Four, how he got hooked on the Fantastic Four. And that's something that I really enjoy about these writers or sometimes their editors. Like, to me, reading these introductions means it's a look back at well, I guess as far back as some of these wonderful folks can remember. You see a lot of the editors write like the Marvel editorial or the introductions for the Marvel Masterworks. Some of them start to forget some things. And I think it's a really awesome look back as to how these stories and ideas came to be, or how they even fell in love with the characters. So over here, he talks about Fantastic Four. He had a copy of this. It's like a beat up copy from his brother from issue number 6 of Fantastic Four. I didn't know this about him, but when he fell in love with the Fantastic Four was from a story from Astonishing Tales number 8. And it is a story that's written by Gerry Conway and phenomenally penciled by Gene Ha. Oh, love it. And I know what he's talking about because that's collected in the Doctor Doom, the Book of Doom omnibus. It also has a story in there from Kazar, but he fell in love with the idea of what Doom has to do. And it's something that other writers have talked about in the past during their runs. So this is the new printing. So yes, unfortunately, the Book of Doom, the Doom omnibus, is out of print right now as of this video. Hopefully one day, with the popularity of Doom and all that, they'll reprint it. As a matter of fact, I think this book right here is the new printing. This was the cover that they used for the Marvel Premiere hardcover, and that thing went for a ton of money until Books of the Doom omnibus came out, and now we have this. So this does collect the Books of Doom issues 1 through 6, and this book has 152 pages, and it retails for $19.99. All right, so I've gone on about, oh, this is really cool, this introduction. It is. I love learning things like that, where the love came from. This graphic novel, this collection here, is a history of Doctor Doom, and it goes thorough through his history, borrowing elements from different writers, from different OGNs, and how it goes from his childhood all the way to him taking the throne in Latveria. And it's done in a documentary style, interviewing different people in Latveria, some of them in prison, interviewing Doctor Doom. And if you're wondering, wait a minute, how is Doctor Doom going to talk to a reporter and just let his secrets out? Just read all the way to the end is all I'm going to say. Oh my gosh. It is a wonderful straight narration to elements borrowed heavily from Jack Kirby's run, John Byrne's run, Roger Stern's original graphic novel, and even the Gerry Conway and Gene Colan piece from Astonishing Tales. That's really cool. This is amazing because this is a look at a villain, right? It is difficult to sometimes love a villain, but Doctor Doom is one of these Marvel supervillains that you kind of feel sorry for. Or no, you know what? By the middle of this, or even at the beginning of this, you start feeling sympathy for. You're like, oh man, poor guy. No wonder he turned out to be such a ruthless dictator. Maybe. But I love that. I love that when writers and editors and just comic creators kind of give this sense of humanity to these villains that are sometimes one-dimensional or could be taken as one-dimensional. To me, this is a perfect character study of a supervillain in the Marvel Universe, and it succeeds at every angle. I absolutely, why did this not get my seal of approval? I'm here talking about it, and I'm questioning myself. It goes through all these stories that we know, and there are some cameos. You're going to see some stuff here from like a young Reed Richards and a young Victor Von Doom, but it's not like the stereotypical stories. And I don't want to say stereotypical because they're not. They don't all do it, but when a writer takes over writing duties of the Fantastic Four, one of the things they love doing is going back to that rivalry between Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom. This kind of just glazes over it a little bit, and it goes more into the magical side of things and why Victor is the way that he is. Valeria's in here, not the daughter, but the Valeria, his maybe true love. And there's other little cameos that appeared through here, including, you know, things we know, like the main Duke, the original Latvian ruler, and how he might have been overthrown. And of course, what happened to this love with the character of Valeria. Now, that's all I will say about this, because I want people to genuinely be surprised when they get to read this for the first time. To me, this is a true feat of how you take an existing character and add elements to the lore, but also respect the past. I love when writers can do that, and Ed Brubaker, man, coming in strong. I'd love to see him do more work at Marvel and DC, but I am selfish like that, although I love his criminal stuff. All the way in the back, we just have a few original pieces of art. And then advertising. This is actually not out yet, but this is the Doom Treasury Edition. And then, of course, the Doctor... That is another one that is freaking awesome. Doctor Doom riding a bear, but this... masterpiece. Savage Avengers by GERRY Duggan Volume 2. So, this is the conclusion of his Savage Avengers run. And this is it's not a complete collection, it's not a saga, but it is pretty thick. I mean, it's not as thick as the Epic collections, but I mean, it's almost there. It's almost 400 pages, so yes, this is the Volume 2. We had a Volume 1 come out last year. And who's that on the cover? That's right, Cimmerian! Conan by Crumb. What is he doing here? I thought he was being printed at Titan. They must have worked out some kind of deal, because this is the first volume. I know that Savage Avengers Omnibus, I think it's still in print as of this video. Here's the table of contents and what's collected in here. So collected in here is Savage Avengers 13 through 28 and Savage Avengers Empire one-shot. So you got Patch Searcher doing a majority of the art, Kev Walker doing some the other pencils, with inks by Scott Hanna, color by Java Tartaglia, and then Greg Smallwood doing the art for the Empire storyline with Travis Lanham on lettering. So this book has 392 pages and retails for $44.99. And it's still, to me, when I did the overview of the omnibus, I thought, you know, the best way to sell this, the best pitch I have for this story, that is Savage Avengers, it's a Conan story. It's a Conan story and guest starring other Marvel characters. So if you love Conan, this is it. This is one of those best jumping on points for, or at least I think so, for the character of Conan, but just how he interacts with the Marvel Universe. So it's still the story of Cooling Goth and trying to retrieve all of these magical elements, including the Eye of Agamotto, from certain magical creatures. And speaking of magic, it's so cool to see magic. I can't believe we didn't add any of these issues, but it's really difficult to pick and choose which one to our Magic Omnibus whenever we mapped it. But awesome nonetheless to see Ileana just take a big part in an Avengers comic to me. So the first story arc that's collected in here is all about continuation of that Cool and Goth story. And then eventually we do get a tie-in, or rather some tie-in issues, not just to the King in Black, but what's going on with the X-Men. So this is the symbiotes, of course, all ruled by Null, attacking Earth. Conan gets involved. I love how Conan gets involved because he gets thrown in jail because he's just, having a good time. And he's paired up with Deadpool in jail. And how they break out of jail is by him squeezing Deadpool through the cell bars. I thought that was awesome. It fits the character of Conan, right? But immediately it turns into a fight against the symbiotes. Colin Goth still playing. I mean, he plays a huge role through all of this. The Hellfire Club's involved. And then a lot of the Marauders from, again, the Age of Krakoa, or the era of Krakoa, like Iceman and Bishop and Callisto. And those are just to name a few. While some of the X-Men end up getting, well, symbioted, venomized, I don't know what you call it anymore. But yes, they turn into symbiotes. And then the rest of the volume is, of course, the trip back home. How does he make it back home, or does he? And who is this other character that could be showing up through here? Well, no one other than Shumagorath. That's right. Shumagorath has broken loose, and he is coming after the Savage Avengers. So now you have Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, I think, plays a secondary part in this. You know, if I were to say, like, if this is a Conan Avengers book, Doctor Strange is kind of like his right-hand dude throughout these issues. So it is Conan, the Barbarian, teaming up with Doctor Strange, along with other Avengers, to take down Colin Goth and Shumagorath, because Colin Goth is absorbing Shumagorath, and you could just find out exactly how. Kang, the Conqueror, gets involved, and then it wraps up with this Empire Savage Avengers one-shot. And this is all about the Katati invading Earth, Greg Smallwood doing these amazing, amazing pieces of art right here. And yes, it is all these... I like how Conan deals with the Katati, too, in a fashion that only Conan could do. In the back, we do have some goodbyes to the Sumerian right here. Marco Cacchetto's variant cover. So there are some variants all the way back here. E.M. Gist. Michael Cho right there. Corey Smith. Kyle Hutz. Gerardo Sandoval and Kev Walker. Patrick Searcher. Oh yeah, Ghost Rider joins in for the fun. Well, I guess if you have Shumagorath, right, you gotta have a little bit of Ghost Rider, and these are original pages right here. And again, this book has 392 pages and retails for $44.99. And now is a small reminder to smash that like button, and also showcasing what the spines look like of all these books. If I can get the glare off of them. There we go. Yes, so here's all the spines of the books coming out this week. Let's continue with the overview. Iron Man Epic Collection, volume number 13. The Stark Wars is finally here. This is the new printing. It has been previously printed before in 2015. And here it is compared to the 2015. It's just a little bit slimmer than the 2015. Colors seem a little bit more vibrant than the 2015 release. But other than that, like, everything else internally is intact. They're just using a different paper stock. And this is another one of those that Curtis is the one that made me realize, like, oh, it's just got a little hint of yellow to it. The older printing does. And the cover right here, again, just a little more vibrant. This one was printed at the Donley printer, and this one here was, I believe, printed in Canada. If not, yeah, this is a Canadian printer. And oh man, just look at the differences 10 years make when it comes to previously collected Epic collections. And even in the back, you have like this full page of the Thor, while over here it's like, oh yeah, we got all these too. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. So let's talk about this book first. Let's talk about what is collected in here. Open it up and look at David Michelinie, Bob Layton, Barry Windsor Smith. 3 names that are really, really familiar with the character of Tony Stark, Mark D. Bright, Bob Layton, Barry Windsor-Smith, and then you have Bob Sharon, Juliana Ferretier, Nell Yomtov, just to name a few of the colorists, and the lettering over here by Janice Chang and Bill Oakley. Inkers is Bob Layton. That's crazy. He did a majority of the inking here. So collected in here is Iron Man 215 to 232 and annual number 9. This book has 496 pages and retails for $44.99. So this is the 80s era. Of course, they tell you every time, 87 to 88. Back here, and this is in the aftermath of a huge loss for Tony Stark. Very reminiscent of something that happens to him from time to time, I swear. The Silver Centurion armors here, and what's happening is he is now living it up in an 80s style. You'll see him actually get a perm through here, and what's happening in these pages is that he is building the Stark Enterprise from the ashes of what happened previously. And the first couple of issues are taking him and Rhodey up to space. So it's nice to see both of the Iron Man through here, just going on separate missions. And you're going to be seeing a lot of villains through here. You're going to be seeing a lot of returning villains. You're going to be seeing Spy Master playing a huge part later on. The Beetle and Black Lash, and you even get a little Ant-Man in here. The big character that makes an appearance through here, or the first appearance through here, is none other than this character known as Ghost, who's like this industrial saboteur, making their first appearance in this. Now, in the movies, was it Ant-Man? Oh my gosh, Ant-Man and Wasp, yes. The second one. Ghost was a female, but in this, he's a male. And he makes his... Oh my gosh. I forgot about this outfit and the chicks at the beach. Yes! Forbes. That's awesome. This is the Ghost story right here. That's an awesome outfit to wear jogging at the beach. Very brave, Tony Stark is. Yes, but he's building his entire fortune back up. And he's doing it really well. And he's got his good buddy Jim Rhodes there. He's got his secretary Bambi. Oh my gosh, what is her name? Arbuscott, I think. And then he even has his own PR person, Marcy Pearson, who's public relations, because he needs them. Now, this is, of course, leading up to something big. So after working his way up to the top, rebuilding his company, enjoying, his friends and parties, we see something happening, and it has something to do with the Spy Master and one of his big opponents, of course, that has been a thorn at his side, and that is Justin Hammer. There's even a new hero here. Oh, what is her name? Is it Stratosphere? No, Stratusfire. That's her name. Now, this is her. The second part of this is about Justin Hammer and a bunch of other villains that have been getting the ability to use Stark technology to build their own weapons and their own armor. So you, again, have characters like Beetle in here, Blizzard right there making an appearance, and then, of course, Blacklash. And what happens here is that Tony decides to declare war on anybody that is using Stark technology. So that's what Stark Wars is. This has been printed before. I think a lot of people know this as the Armor Wars storyline. So anybody that is using Stark technology, they're about to get their butts handed to them, including whether you're Stiltman or not. He doesn't care. And, oh man, this gets really, really going when, villains, sure. But then he starts going after heroes, Avengers, like Stingray. So the Avengers step in. They're like, wait a second, man, what are you doing? This isn't cool. And it's anybody that's using Stark technology that he wants to put a stop to. That's why the face-off with the Captain, or rather the new Captain America, the stand-in Captain America, Walker, comes in. There is an Aftermath story here. And the Aftermath story is done beautifully by Barry Windsor-Smith, and it's kind of like, it's a very dreamlike type of story about separating yourself from the machines. This is the Intimate Enemies right here. Again, David Michelini doing the writing, but the plot assist and, of course, the pencils and art colors are done by Barry Windsor-Smith, with Bob Layton inking some of the stuff. So this is a lesson in... Oh, man, that cover is so freaking awesome, too. Just so badass. Very iconic. And the colors, it's only Barry Windsor Smith can provide colors like that. It's a little bit of the Marvel Age Annual number 8, just this page right here. And the new direction for Iron Man, the article from Marvel Age. People are asking me if there's any way we're going to get a Marvel Age Omnibus Volume 2, and I really don't know how well the first one sold. And this old trade paperback from 1990, the Armor Wars trade paperback. I'm surprised they didn't do like the Marvel Premiere covers, but they didn't do it in the first printing either. So to kind of give you an idea of the differences here, yeah, like I mentioned, it's a different paper stock. And as far as the colors, it's just a little bit, tad bit, I don't think even you catch it on video, it's just a tad bit more vibrant. My man gets a perm in this volume 2. Dry hair. 8,000. I love that. Yeah, so, you know, very similar to the art that you saw in the original printing. So, exact same content, exact same page count. But that is Iron Man, volume number 13, Stark Wars. Marvel Masterworks, Doctor Strange, volume 11. So this is another one of the Marvel Masterworks. We had one come out last week, wasn't it? My goodness. Yeah. The flaps right here. Printed at the Donnelly printer. And collecting Doctor Strange 74 to 81. So volume 2 wrapping up. Or what is known as Doctor Strange volume 2 wrapping up. Marvel Graphic Novel 23, which is an amazing story. Material from Strange Tales 1 through 3 and Marvel Fanfare 8 and 31. This book has 344 pages and retails for $75. We have Peter B. Gillis, J.M. DeMatteis, and Roger Stern wrapping up his run, with Peter B. Gillis coming in as the new writer, Dan Green, doing the beautiful paintings for the Into Shambhala. And then Chris Warner coming in strong with his, I love his artwork. Mark Badger, Sal Buscema, Randy Emberlin, Scott Williams, a young Scott Williams, inking issue number 80. Joe Rosen, Janice Chang as some of the letters, and Bob Sharon doing the colors. And, oh my gosh, gender swamping Marvel, how dare you. Man, if the internet was around back then, what is this, like 1986, I think? Boy, they would have had a field day with that. That's from issue 79. That's the character of Morgana. They would have blown up. Anyway, nah, everybody gets along on the internet. There's a beautiful introduction here from Carl Potts. Carl is, if you ever meet him at a convention, he's a true gentleman. Has really, really good memory about the time when he was working as an editor, as a penciler, as an inker, as a layout artist. Like at Marvel Comics, many jobs that he had, running into Steve Ditko. And I didn't know about this. Apparently, there were 2 issues that Steve Ditko did of Doctor Strange before he left that he never saw the light of day, and his sister owned them, because Carl Potts was trying to get him to come over and he'd be like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do like a special edition? I'm editor of Doctor Strange now. And he was like, nah, I don't want people to compare my new art to my old art, so we'll just let it be. I thought, oh my gosh, can you imagine? Especially if we find that now. Who knows where that art is these days. But we do have Peter B. Gillis coming in, Mark Badger and Joe Rosen right here with the lettering. This is in the aftermath of what happened in the previous volume. This is Clea after the defeat of Umar and Orini. She's kind of taking a new status quo here in the Dark Dimension, and she's asking Doctor Strange to join her, and he's like, no, I'm Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. I gotta go back there. What a good dude. So he does. He comes back here. By the way, I'm sure you probably noticed on the cover, Secret Wars 2, and now the Beyonder. So it is a Secret Wars tie-in. And who he runs into here is none other than Wong and Sarah Wolf, who for some reason have been in some kind of weird trance, and they're explaining some man broke in here looking for you. And who that man is none other than the Beyonder. So that leads into a big fight. This issue is really interesting. By the way, beautiful cover here by Mike Mignola, of course. This issue is interesting because it is in the aftermath of a Fantastic Four story. I think it's 277, if I'm not mistaken, or 278, where Mephisto's realm on Hell is kind of changed. Yeah, actually, as seen right here in Fantastic Four 276 and 277. So it's in the aftermath. I'm surprised it's like none of those pages are collected in here, but we do have a new status quo for Hell and Mephisto and what it could mean for the Sorcerer Supreme. And we have this character appear. And if you've been reading Werewolf by Night, if you have the Omnibus, or if you have the Marvel Masterworks, this is none other than Topaz, the woman with the missing half a soul. Like her soul is, half her soul is missing. So Doctor Strange is like, no, I promise, I will get it back. This is a new character that's kind of very much like Medusa. Peter Gillis borrows a lot of names from poems and just literature. This is Uriale, I believe is how you pronounce her name, who will be a foe here for Doctor Strange. And immediately when Topaz appears, by the way, after helping her in the last issue, she ends up staying with Doctor Strange. So she'll become a part of the supporting cast. We have an old friend of Doctor Strange here that's fallen in love with this goddess. What the hell's wrong with some of these people? This is the story of Cat. And this is when his shroud, or yes, the levitation, shroud of levitation gets shredded. So he goes on a journey to try to get a new levitation cloak. And the places it takes him kind of foreshadows what is to come. And one of those places, of course, with Cloak, dealing with this... Oh, what is her name? She goes by... Is it... hold on a second. It's a very sexy name, I think, if I'm not mistaken. What is her? Oh yes, Ecstasy. How could I forget that name? This is the issue right here with Morgana. Why is she wearing Doctor Strange's outfit? Something happens to Doctor Strange's body here, where Morgana, or the character of Morgana, has to take on the role of Doctor Strange, but she does it in a different way. And I thought it was awesome why Doctor Strange has to do that. By now, Chris Warner is supplying the artwork, and I love his art. Very underappreciated artist, I think. I don't think enough people talk about his run. Scott Williams supplying the inks here for this issue right here. And Scott Williams, of course, I can't think of Jim Lee without thinking of Scott Williams. They, to me, go hand in hand, kind of like John Byrne and Terry Austin. I love when both of them are working together. We do have a new villain that will help wrap up the series, and that is Urthona and his minions taking Wong, and, of course, the character of Topaz to another dimension, to another... Actually, it's not a dimension, it's another planet, if you will. And we do have the introduction of Rintrah right here, making his first full appearance, so created by Peter Gillis and Chris Warner. And he will be staying around. And if you saw the... Was it the Multiverse of Madness? He was in that movie. Now, when that issue wraps up, issue 81 of Doctor Strange, the title gets canceled, so he goes to Direct Market, and it shares a comic with Cloak and Dagger. So Doctor Strange, still written by Peter Gillis and Chris Warner, still doing the art. The stories start coming over here to this magazine, and it was a Direct Market magazine, and now Doctor Strange is hanging out and kind of coming back to Earth, bringing the Sanctum Sanctorum back to its place over in Greenwich Village. But we have new mysteries over here with the girl with all the worms and the return of Cat. Now Rintrah playing a big part in this. And then we have this. And this is Into Shambhala. And it is painted by the phenomenal Dan Green, lettering by Ken Bruzenak, and Jan DeMatteis writing the story. And if you've never read this, this alone is worth the price of it. You don't have to get the rest of the Marvel Masterworks, Doctor Strange, but I feel like this story is so important. And this is getting my seal of approval. It's been years since I've read this. And it's because it's been out of print. There's never been a Treasury edition, a Marvel Premiere hardcover of it. There's no gallery edition. I don't know why. That and Triumph and Torment really need it. Or an oversized hardcover. It is beautiful. And the story is simple, yet complex, which I love about comics. It's a journey about finding yourself. I know comics do that a lot. But this one does it in a unique way. This one does it in a spiritual realm, and Doctor Strange is summoned to go back to his home, or where the Ancient One was, in the Himalaya Mountains, because the Ancient One is dying, or could be dead, and wants to leave Steven something. And I can't tell you what he leaves him, but I think it's one of the most beautiful endings and one of the most beautiful stories in here. And oh my gosh, it is a masterpiece. I talked about, Book of Doom is great. It's a masterpiece too, but in a different way. This to me feels like a work of love and labor, and a lot of it went into this book. A lot of that love and labor went into this book, and you can tell with every page that is painted through here. I think that's all I'm going to do is stop flipping through here. This is so freaking beautiful. And then in the back, you do get a couple of extra stories from the Marvel Fanfare. You get the Peter B. Gillis and Carmen Infantino with Pete Craig Russell doing the inks here. And it's the return of his, oh gosh, what is his name? James Mandarin, and playing a small part in this Doctor Strange story. And then you get the other Dr. Owl, Master of the Mystic Arts. This is by Mark Wheatley right here. And then all the way in the back, you get some pinups and the Marvel Age article right here, Marvel Age Annual 2, talking about both of these comics combining together, the house ad, and then Marvel graphic novel plot breakdown and notes. Apparently there were original pages that Dan Green found before he passed away. There's a beautiful I'm going to show you just a little bit. So after the story, after Into Shambhala, before you get to the Marvel Fanfare issues, there is an afterword here, or rather, I guess, is an intro by J.M. DeMatteis, talking about his friendship with Dan Green and becoming really good friends, so much so that their kids are still friends who are adults now. I love that. I love stories like this. Unfortunately, we lost Dan in 2023, and his wife passed away in 2015. And oh man, it's just beautiful, and it adds more to, at least for me, to the story and what this means. And at the same time, he was working on Moonshadow. I love that book. It's printed at Dark Horse now. But that is Doctor Strange, Master of the Mystics Art, Volume 11. Last, but certainly not least, is Alien, Black, White, and Blood Treasury Edition. So this is another one of those books that is oversized. Here it is compared to the size of a trade paperback. So you can just get an idea of the size right there. It is a soft cover though, but I mean, it's harder than your actual trade paperback covers. It does have end sheets. I love that about these books. And this one here, printed at the iMac printer. Here's a quick breakdown of the Weyland-Yutani kind of timeline when this takes place, but it really could take place at any time. But you are in the years 2122, and 2179, and they're talking a little bit about the Xenomorphs. In case you haven't seen the movies, I think it's for mostly people like that. And then it's broken down into 4 different issues. And something unique about this, unlike the other, like Moon Knight, or Wolverine, or Elektra, or Carnage, or even the Star Wars Darth Vader, is that this has one ongoing story, Utopia, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. That's by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, and Michael Dowling doing the art with Chris Sotomayor doing the colors. Even though it's Black, White, and Blood, there's a splash of green in here, which you're going to see. Which makes sense, right? If the Xenomorphs bleed green. So this is a 4-issue miniseries. It's an anthology series, 136 pages, and retails for $29.99. Each story different than the rest. Usually with these anthology series, there's not a continuing story, but in this Aliens one, there is. So, love that cover. Okay. It starts off with this story right here about this ship. It's a socialist generation ship called the Forward, and it's a group. It's the Union of Progressive Peoples. That's who are in this group, and they are immediately attacked by a xenomorph whenever they go to a Weyland-Yutani ship. So what happens? They start getting wrecked. So because these people are the Union of Progressive People, how long are these people going to last? Especially when they're like, wait a minute, we didn't bring any soldiers with us. This ship is meant to leave violence behind, and you're saying that we're carrying cancer with us when they find out that there's military soldiers in there? Oh, man. This is a really good story. It's a strong opener, and I could see why it couldn't be done in just 8 pages. The next story here, for example, I'm just going to go over the first, just the premise of these couple stories. First 2 stories. Like, this one here is a standalone story. This one is a lot different than Utopia. This is it's a take on the most dangerous game. So it's a group of rich people that are hunting, if you will, xenomorphs. And it's on this Weyland-Yutani game reserve. And Ferreira's artwork's a little bit more cartoony here than the previous story, but I dig it. And again, you're going to see some of the green, but not as much as you will in the second or this third story, because green becomes a really prominent color here. I really like this one. This is the Maternal Instinct. The art here is by Devmalya Pramenik, but Ryan Caddy is the writer. So this is the story about one boy trying to survive on a spaceship because the entire ship has been killed off by this xenomorph attack. So now it's up to the ship's computer, properly named Mother 8500, to help keep this kid alive, this young boy. And does she succeed? Well, you can find out by reading the story. So the rest of this is just stories like that, anthology series. Lots of violence in here, so you're going to have a parental advisory. I love this stuff. I mean, whenever you have a name like Black, White, and Blood, you expect some violence, right? I expect a lot of violence. But that's the way I like my alien movies. But you do have some green in here. And there is a lot of graphic gore through here at times. I love this. This is my kind of anthology series, and I love the fact that these are coming out in oversized format. And no, I don't know if these will ever be collected in omnibus format. And I don't even know if you could put Aliens or Darth Vader or the upcoming Darth Maul into a collection with Wolverine and Moon Knight and Elektra and Carnage. So, yeah. So that's all I will say about this book. All the way in the back, you do have a couple of extras, and those are mainly variant covers. Most of them in splash page or on the opposite side of the main cover. But that is it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of the books I talked about this week, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these collected editions. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up, which ones you're hoping will come out in an omnibus format one day, or which ones you already have the first printing of, or you have it in another format, and what you're looking forward to reading for the first time. If you have any questions, leave those questions down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.